Urgent. Venus hits the nodes. What Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo must choose before the window closes. There is a fork in the road. Not the kind you can see from a distance and prepare for. The kind that appears beneath your feet while you are already walking. And by the time you realize you are at the fork, you have already been leaning toward one direction without knowing you were choosing. On April 29th, Venus at 7 degrees of Gemini forms an exact square to the lunar nodes at 7 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. And what that square produces is the most precise collision between desire and destiny the sky has offered all year. Venus is what you want. The nodes are where you are going. And when Venus squares the nodes, what you want and where you are going are not aligned. They are pulling in different directions, and you are standing at the exact point where the pull is strongest in both directions simultaneously. This is not a transit that resolves itself. This is a transit that asks you to choose, not between good and bad, between two versions of what you value. The version that is comfortable and familiar, and the version that is aligned with the direction your life is actually heading, even though it requires you to release something you have been holding on to for reasons that no longer match the truth. By the time this video is over, you will understand what Venus squaring the nodes actually demands, why the specific signs involved, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo, are at the center of this choice, and what every sign of the zodiac needs to recognize about the fork that just appeared beneath their feet. Stay here, because the fork does not wait for you to feel ready. It simply asks you to notice which direction your weight is already shifting. Let me start with what the lunar nodes actually are. The nodes are not planets. They are mathematical points. The two places where the moon's orbital path crosses the ecliptic, the sun's apparent path through the sky. The north node is the point of the future, what you are growing toward, what the soul is building, the direction that feels unfamiliar but is aligned with the evolutionary trajectory of your life. The south node is the point of the past, what you have already mastered, what is comfortable, what you default to because it requires no growth, only repetition. The nodes are the axis of fate, not fate in the passive sense, fate in the sense of the specific direction your life is being pulled by something larger than your personal preferences. When a planet squares the nodes, it creates a crossroads. The planet is caught between the pull of the future and the comfort of the past. It cannot go in both directions simultaneously. It must choose. And on April 29th, the planet at the crossroads is Venus. Venus governs what you desire, what you value, what you reach for, what you are willing to sacrifice comfort for. When Venus squares the nodes, your desire is caught between the familiar version of what you want, the south node version, the one you already know how to have, the one that feels safe because you have had it before, and the unfamiliar version, the north node version, the one that is aligned with where your life is actually heading but requires you to want something you have not wanted before. The fork is between the love you know and the love you are being called toward, between the value system that has been running your choices and the value system that matches the person you are becoming, between the comfortable desire and the evolutionary one. And Venus at the crossroads cannot take both paths. Now here is why the specific signs matter enormously. The nodes are currently in Pisces, north node, and Virgo, south node. Venus is in Gemini. These three signs form the crossroads. The south node in Virgo represents the past pattern, the tendency to manage desire through analysis, to reduce what you want to what seems practical, to organize your needs into categories that can be controlled and measured. Virgo's south node says, want what you can verify, want what makes logical sense, want what can be defended with evidence. The north node in Pisces represents the future direction, the willingness to desire without needing to justify the desire, to value what cannot be measured, to move towards something because it calls to you from a place deeper than analysis can reach. Pisces North Node says, trust the wanting that has no spreadsheet. Trust the pull that cannot be explained to the part of you that needs things to make sense before they are allowed to matter. And Venus in Gemini, caught at the exact 90-degree tension point between these two, is the part of you that communicates desire, that names what you want, that puts language on the wanting. Gemini wants to talk about both options, wants to analyze both paths, wants to gather information before committing. But the square does not allow indefinite gathering. The fork demands a direction. Here is where this lands for the signs most directly affected. If you are Gemini or Gemini rising, Venus is in your first house. The fork is in your identity itself. What you desire and how you present yourself to the world is at the crossroads between the familiar analytical approach to wanting and the unfamiliar intuitive approach. The choice? Continue wanting in the way that can be explained, or begin wanting in the way that can only be felt. If you are Pisces or Pisces rising, the North Node is in your first house. The evolutionary direction is pulling directly at your sense of self. Venus squares from your fourth house. The fork involves home, roots, the foundation of your private life. The choice: what you have been building your private world around versus what the evolutionary direction is asking your private world to become. If you are Virgo or Virgo rising, the South Node is in your first house. The comfortable pattern is your default identity. Venus squares from your 10th house. The fork involves career, public life, how the world sees you. The choice: the professional identity built on the familiar pattern versus the professional direction that requires you to release the pattern. If you are Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising, Venus squares from your 7th house. The fork is in your partnerships. The choice between the relationship dynamic you know how to maintain and the one your evolutionary direction is asking you to grow into. If you are Aries or Aries rising, Venus activates your 3rd house. The fork is in your communication, your daily thinking, the conversations that shape your direction. The choice between saying what is safe and saying what is true at a level that changes the path. If you are Taurus or Taurus rising, Venus is in your 2nd house. The fork is in your values and resources. What you invest in and what you consider valuable is at the crossroads between the familiar assessment and the evolutionary reassessment. If you are Cancer or Cancer rising, Venus activates your 12th house. The fork is invisible, operating in dreams, intuitions, the unconscious. The choice is being made beneath the surface before you are consciously aware of it. If you are Leo or Leo rising, Venus is in your 11th house. The fork is in your community, your networks, the future you are building with others. The choice between the social world that is comfortable and the one aligned with where you are actually heading. If you are Libra or Libra rising, Venus activates your 9th house. The fork is philosophical. The choice between the belief system you know and the one that matches who you are becoming. If you are Scorpio or Scorpio rising, Venus is in your 8th house. The fork is in the most intimate shared territory. The choice between the power dynamic you have maintained and the one your evolution requires. If you are Capricorn or Capricorn rising, Venus activates your 6th house. The fork is in your daily work and health routines. The choice between the habitual structure and the one that actually serves the life you are building. If you are Aquarius or Aquarius rising, Venus is in your 5th house. The fork is in your creative expression and romantic life. The choice between the joy you know how to have and the joy that is calling from the unfamiliar direction. Here is what this transit is specifically asking of you. Not a dramatic choice, not a life-altering declaration made in 48 hours. A recognition. The specific act of noticing, honestly, without managing the observation, which direction your weight has already been shifting. Because the fork did not appear today. The fork has been forming for weeks. The nodes have been in Pisces and Virgo for months. The evolutionary direction has been pulling. The comfortable pattern has been holding. And Venus arriving at the exact square point is the moment the tension between the two becomes conscious. What was a gradual lean becomes a visible fork. The practice for this transit is one question asked in genuine stillness. Not in the middle of a busy day, not while multitasking. In a moment of genuine quiet, ask, where has my desire been leading me that my comfort has been resisting? The answer will be specific. It will name a specific relationship, a specific value, a specific version of what you want that the analytical South Node part of you has been dismissing as impractical or unjustifiable or too much to allow. And the North Node in Pisces says, what cannot be justified by analysis may still be the truest direction. The things that matter most rarely arrive with evidence. They arrive with the specific quality of recognition that operates below the level of proof. Venus at the crossroads is asking whether you will follow the evidence or the recognition. Both are real. Only one is aligned with where your life is actually going. The mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, will feel this crossroads most directly, because the square activates their angular houses. But every sign will register the specific quality of April 29th, the moment the fork between comfortable desire and evolutionary desire became visible. Not to pressure you into the unfamiliar, to show you that the lean has already begun, and what the lean is pointing toward, even if it cannot be justified by the South Node's analytical standards, may be exactly what the next chapter of your life is being built around. Write in the comments which direction the lean is pointing. Not the safe version, the one your comfort has been resisting but your body has been moving toward. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because as the nodes continue through Pisces and Virgo, every transit that touches them will deepen this choice. And understanding which direction the fork is pulling will reshape how you navigate every crossroads the rest of this year produces. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands. There is one more layer to this crossroads that connects it to everything the sky has been doing this year. Because Venus, squaring the nodes on April 29th, arrives just 4 days after Uranus entered Gemini and the Sun squared Pluto, which means the fork in the road is not appearing in calm conditions. It is appearing in the middle of the most disruptive week of the entire year. The information landscape just blew open with Uranus in Gemini. The hidden power dynamics just surfaced with Sun square Pluto. And now Venus at the crossroads asks, given everything that just changed, given everything that just became visible, given the ground that just shifted beneath your feet, what do you actually want? Not what you wanted before the shift, what you want now that the shift has happened. This is why April 29th is not an ordinary Venus transit. It is the specific moment when the desire system gets updated in real time to match the new landscape. The comfortable version of wanting, the South Node version, the one calibrated to the world before Uranus blew it open and Pluto exposed it, that version may no longer fit the territory you are standing in. The evolutionary version, the North Node in Pisces version, the one that trusts the pull that cannot be analytically justified, may be the only version that matches the new conditions. The fork is between the desire that belonged to the old landscape and the desire that fits the new one. And the lean you have been feeling, the one the comfort has been resisting, may be the lean toward the only version of wanting that the post-April 25th world can actually support. This is the crossroads, not between good and bad, between the version of desire that matched the world that just ended and the version that matches the world that just began. The mutable signs stand at the center of this choice, but every sign is being asked the same question. Now that everything has changed, do you still want what you wanted before? Or has the wanting already begun to shift towards something the old version of you would not have allowed? The answer is in the lean. Notice it. Trust it. And let the fork show you which path the lean has already been choosing.